So, what are the key updates for July 2024 then? Well, as usual, I've put together my top 10. I have actually squeezed an extra one in there. So, there are 11, which you'll find out about later, but spanning across Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. So, we've got a little bit of everything today. Of course, I do tend to find that the majority of fresh updates happen on Instagram. For some reason, they are the ones that are just bringing out the majority of the features at the moment. Very, very focused on direct messaging, which is really interesting. And I will be talking about that a little bit more later on. If you're a newbie, then just to let you know that we do open the floor to questions, bit of Q&A happening at the end of today's sesh. So if you have got a question, then you're very, very welcome to ask. And it can be about anything social media related. It doesn't necessarily have to tie in with anything we cover today. And I will try and answer that for you. So I think we're ready. Should we get stuck in? Let's do it. Starting off today's session, I wanted to talk about Instagram notes. So Instagram notes are not necessarily a new thing. Notes have been a feature of Instagram since last year, since 2023. You may have seen these, you may not have seen them. I've talked about them in previous updates before. Notes are short notes that you can post to your followers. They have to be people who are following you and you follow back. So it has to be a mutual following there, or to your close friends. So if you've set up your close circle of friends on Instagram, then they will be seeing your notes. They can be 60 characters long, so they are very much these kind of status updates. It harks back to the days of MSN Messenger in my mind, just being able to kind of leave a little question or a reminder or a small announcement on your profile. And they show up in your direct messages. So they're right at the top of your direct message inbox. So I've had a look across a number of accounts that I have access to this morning. And in my network, very few people are currently using notes. I'm not seeing many notes being utilized at all. But of course, I'm such a small part of the Instagram community, and they may well be being used by others in different countries, maybe in different age demographics to mine. So please do let me know if you're seeing notes. Maybe the feature hasn't rolled out yet for you either. So that's another frustration. They're not actually available for everybody yet. But businesses can use them, creators can use them, and individuals can use them. So it's not just a feature which is available to people or creators. Businesses can absolutely use them as well. Now, the reason why I'm featuring notes once again, because we did talk about them last month as well, is that you may well have noticed some of the most recent features with notes. One of the key things to note is that they do disappear after 24 hours. So these little notes are only there for 24 hours. So not a huge amount of time to see those notes. And they can be used for announcements or often sharing funny musings on life as well. I think from a business perspective, they'd be great to alert people to a competition or a promotion that your business is currently having. So just another way to be showing up in direct messages. But the big thing that Instagram has rolled out in the last week is the disappearing notes, which are now being featured on Reels and posts. So you may well have seen this already, you may not have been, because again, it is rolling out. But users can now add a tiny speech bubble which disappear to videos and photos in Instagram. It can be anybody's video or photo that they add the note to, but only their friends will see that. So this could be utilized for adding, a bit of an in joke, or maybe even alerting people to something you like in that video or reel. This is something that Instagram is testing at the moment to see if people like it. And this is how it appears on the right-hand side there. So you could be saying that you particularly like something or you don't like something. And these floating bubbles will disappear after 3 days. So they stay around a little bit longer than these notes, which are appearing in direct messages. So you can see that this is the kind of promotional message that we're getting about notes. Users can choose who see their notes. It could be their close friends, or it could be followers that follow them back. But it basically means that this feature is well suited to things like personal opinions, or sharing inside jokes that you may not want to appear in public comment sections. So this is kind of the biggest update, I would say, that Instagram is rolling out at the moment. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm yet to see any businesses utilize this feature, but I think it does, again, solidify the fact that Instagram's strategy at the moment is very much for creating tools for people to be able to communicate privately with each other, to have certain things that aren't so public, that are features that are only seen by certain people, and to help users become a little bit more choosy about which messages they decide to send into the ether. So that is definitely a trend which Instagram seems to be really focused on, is this more private, more closed communities. So the next update is one that I think is so important for businesses. Instagram is all about shares now. This was an update that actually came from Adam Mosseri, who did a Q&A video. For those of you that don't know, he's the chief of Instagram. He's definitely someone to follow on Instagram because he shares so many great tips and insights from what they're currently building in Instagram right now. But he has recently reiterated that you should be focused on how to make your content more share worthy. Shares are the most important feature or factor when it comes to engagement that the algorithm is ranking content for. So let's hear a little bit more about what he said in a video recently.
One of the most important signals we use in ranking is sends per reach. So out of all the people who saw your reel or your photo, how many of them sent it to a friend in a DM? At Instagram, we're trying to be a place where people can be creative, but in a way that brings people together. We want not only to be a place where you passively consume content, but where you discover things you want to tell your friends about. A reel that made you laugh so hard you wanted to send it to your brother or your sister, or a soccer highlight that blew your mind and you wanted to send it to another fan, that kind of thing. So don't force it as a creator, but if you can, when you're making content, think about making content that people would want to send to a friend, to someone that they care about, and it will help you reach over time. More advice to come. Peace.
So I think that's a great thing to focus on, and almost when you're about to post something on Instagram, I would be asking myself, is this something that's likely to be shared? You do often see people as well actually calling out, save this post if you think it's going to be useful, or share this post with someone who you are wanting to go for that meal with, for example. So it is an engagement tactic that people are using to really encourage those shares. And I just think it's so important to remind yourselves now that a like is actually the lowest form of ranking that the algorithm looks to. A like really doesn't mean that that post is going to perform well. And I still get some of my clients judging the success of their posts on how many likes it got. And we need to train ourselves out of that, because Instagram has changed and is no longer looking at the likes. Okay, so I also thought it was really interesting that this month Instagram updated its professional dashboard, which is the area of information you get as a business account. So if your account is a professional account, is a business one, you can head into your settings and you'll find your professional dashboard there. And within that, they have just updated the Reels best practices. So in the Reels best practices section, you can see that they are now adding a number of different pieces of advice around what works well for Reels. So let's just have a really quick look at some of these. They're saying in terms of Reels, you should be making Reels part of your routine. So they are the best way of reaching new people on Instagram. Being as relatable as possible and focusing on engagement, I would say those ones are pretty obvious. In terms of Reels creation, it's the first 3 seconds that really count. And actually, I'm hearing more and more that it's actually the first second that counts. So really making sure that that opening scene of your video is something that's going to capture people's attention. It is attention grabbing, it's well lit, it's ideally got a person in it, which is always more relatable and engaging. But how are you going to keep people watching? So you see people saying things like, wait for the reveal, or keep watching if you want to know, dot, dot, dot. Or even if you're showing a process, start with the end shot. Start with, what it looks like as a dish or as, a package of beautiful beauty products, and then go into how you apply them or how you cook them. Check your timing. Reels that are 30 to 60 seconds get a lot better engagement. Only use relevant hashtags. And just be aware that Adam Mosseri has said a number of times now that hashtags do not help your reach. They're more about ensuring that the right people are being suggested your content. So I'm not sure. I still see the odd post, doing well potentially because of hashtags, but I think they're such a small part of all of those different factors of what makes a good post. Try trending audio, but don't rely on just using a trending audio track as being the thing that makes your video go viral. It's not the be all and end all, but it can help. And keep it high res. Upload the highest resolution possible. People tend to engage more with high quality content on Instagram. And then a few points about engagement. Replying to comments within 7 days is the advice from Instagram. I would say ideally within an hour, but within a couple of hours is what's expected now from a consumer. There's nothing more annoying than leaving a comment on a post, like a question, for example, and not getting a response to that for well over 24 hours. And I have seen a lot of cases of big brands just not keeping on track of conversations. The more live you can make that engagement feel, the more conversations you can have with people, the better reach you're going to get, the more engagement, the more relevant your brand feels. It feels like a person. People always like to engage with a personality in social media as opposed to just kind of more getting a robot answer. And that is definitely an area of growth, which I don't think many brands dedicate that much time and energy to, but can actually be the most effective way to grow, is actually being there to have conversations with your community. The final one they've noted there is share everywhere at the same time. Sharing your content on Instagram at the same time as other platforms drives more consistent distribution for you. I'm not sure about that one. I wonder whether that one is a bit more aimed at those people that will put something on Instagram and then they'll put it on TikTok afterwards. Or the other way around, put it on TikTok first and then put it on Instagram. They want to see you basically sharing your content at the same time across platforms. But I think that really just comes down to your own strategy. Which are your priority platforms? Where's your biggest engagement? Where's your largest community? That should be the place where you make the announcements or post fresh content first. Let's talk a little bit now about Instagram collaborations. I'm sure many of you that are using Instagram are aware of collaborative posts. You know what they are. They can be incredibly useful for growth because these posts, which are collaborative, are live on 2 accounts at the same time, or more than that as well. I believe you can add up to 4 collaborators now on one post. So having this mass reach is really beneficial for growth. It gets you in front of a bunch of new people, particularly if you've been very specific about who you're going to collaborate with. Like-minded brands is often a good one. So if you've identified another brand who have a very similar audience to you, this is a great way to attract people who have the same interests, preferences, but they might not have heard of you, or they may have heard of you, they just don't follow you. So this is a technique that we see a lot, particularly when it comes to competitions. So tying up with another brand and running a collaboration giveaway is a really great tactic for growth, has been for a long time, and still continues to drive great engagement and entries. So do have a think about what other brands are there which you can approach just in the DMs. You can just DM people and say, we'd love to run a giveaway with you. But who has a very similar demographic of followers who have common interests with yours? Doesn't even have to be the same industry. Doesn't have to be, if you're a beauty brand, you don't have to just go with beauty products. It could definitely be food. It could be experiences and entertainment. It could be fashion. And in this case, we can see a drinks brand called Trip Drinks, who I'm a little bit obsessed with at the moment. I think their social content is great. Going for naked bars, naked vegan snack bars, and tying up with them. And actually, there are a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Similarities between the two audience types, because Trip Drink are all about kind of mindful drinking. They are targeting, millennials essentially, who will spend a little bit more on their products if they are, good for you or support wellness. And same with Naked, they're not the cheapest snack bars, but if you are on a vegan diet or you prefer, eating whole foods, then they can be a great option for you. So I think that's a great example of collaborative posts. So if you're not using collaborative posts, I would really encourage you to give them a go. You can add a collaborator very easily when you are posting the post. Of course, as well as competitions, they work incredibly well for influencer content as well. So if you are working with influencers out there and you've got people reviewing your products, visiting your venues, you've got people out there who are essentially banging the drum for you, then actually having collaborative posts is a fantastic way for their reviews to also go live on your feed. You get seen in front of maximum audiences, and also you tend to get great engagement on those posts as well. So if you have an influencer outreach strategy, one of the points I'd be asking the influencer is whether they can add you as a collaborator when they do upload the post. A lot of influencers will do that anyway because they want to be seen on your feed. It's great for their growth. It's great for their brand as well to be associated with some good products. But if they don't, or maybe they, aren't necessarily aware of those features, then always good just to remind them as well. So the issue with collaborative posts is that you have to add in your collaborators when you are posting the post live. So it is fairly frustrating. It means that, if you forget or you, I don't know what other reasons you might not do it when you're live, you might be in a rush, then you can't actually add retrospectively at the moment. However, this is a suggestion that someone has made to Instagram. You can, feed back directly to the chief of Instagram on his platform there. And someone has actually suggested, could you make it possible for us to add a collaborator tag after posting? So rolling out soon, retrospective tags for collaborative posts are happening, which is absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure many of you will be just as pleased as I am, because it means you can actually go back and retrospectively add in some collaborators there. So that's good news. Another Instagram update for you is that last month, Instagram started rolling out the ability to upload carousel posts with images of different sizes. So traditionally, you've always had to have the same size image throughout, which is a portrait sized or a square sized image. But now you can actually create a carousel on Instagram, which are, high engagement pieces of content with different sized images within it, a portrait, a square, a horizontal if you really wanted to, although we hate horizontal posts on Instagram. So that is something that is pretty exciting and should be rolling out soon. And I can see that being really useful for some of my clients who have maybe, a few different images and then a flyer. Or if you're creating carousels of user-generated content, often you'll find that those UGC posts are in different sizes. But there is a really important thing I need to tell you about, which was discovered just last week. You can't currently boost the post if you have used this feature. So if you use a carousel with different sized images in it, you can't currently boost it. And that's really important to note. I don't know if it's a bug. I don't know if it's something that's likely to change, but this was discovered this week by a gentleman called Ahmed Ghanem. And you can see there that he was getting the warning message when he tried to boost these posts. So do just be aware of that. Let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn then. And in particular, let's talk about LinkedIn newsletters, which have been taking LinkedIn by storm. It does feel like every B2B brand has a newsletter, but they do so well in terms of engagement. It's almost like, why wouldn't you have one? Apologies, I do have a WhatsApp notification noise happening. So I'm just going to find out where that is and shut that one down, because that's fairly annoying, as I'm sure you'd agree. There we go. So go back to sharing. Okay, so hopefully you guys are seeing full screen. So as I was talking about, LinkedIn newsletters have been taking the platform by storm over the last couple of years, and they get fantastic engagement. So, of course, one of the things that LinkedIn has now decided to launch is the ability to sponsor a newsletter. So, essentially, promote your newsletter as an ad. So this is what it's going to look like. Apologies for the slightly blurry image there, but this is the only example I could find. You will basically need to post an organic post on your company page that promotes the newsletter. You can link to the newsletter URL underneath, and you'll get this nice thumbnail of your recent article or even of the newsletter generally. So just put the URL to the newsletter in there, and then you can actually boost that as a post. So that is a new feature which LinkedIn is rolling out. LinkedIn newsletters have seen a 47% increase in engagement over the last year alone. There are now over 184,000 newsletters being published within the app. And if you are, au fait with newsletters, you'll notice that there's a real mixture as to whether they are being published from a company or from an individual. Can be done from both. But of course, it's whatever makes most sense to your brand. But they can be a brilliant way to ensure that you are highlighting some of your best content to your community on LinkedIn. Or you can use it as a way to cross promote content that's going into an email newsletter anyway. And you are then also using that over on LinkedIn, where people are maybe checking their notifications a little more regularly. And they also have the ability to comment on your newsletter as well, which they may not be able to do via email. So there are some benefits there from a consumer perspective as to why you might prefer seeing content on LinkedIn versus in an email. It is important to know, so LinkedIn have said that they are rolling out sponsored newsletter articles over time. So if you don't have the option yet, just be known that it is coming soon. And also, these newsletter articles have to be authored by a company and as part of an organic company page post. So they can't be the personal newsletter articles that you sponsor, which is really interesting. So they're only allowing companies to sponsor newsletters. Let's move across to TikTok now. I've been talking a lot recently about TikTok shopping with my clients. This is definitely becoming a really important strategic move from TikTok. And one of the things they've this week announced is the 1 million club in the UK. This is a new program to essentially attract more UK merchants. So they're trying to get more UK businesses to sell their product within the app. We know that TikTok shopping can perform incredibly well for beauty and for fashion brands, but TikTok wants to see more of a diverse range of companies creating shops and going live, selling their products in their marketplace. This new 1 Million Club initiative is aiming to help UK retailers reach 1 million in revenue via the app. And the program is set to offer special incentives and support designed to help UK retailers specifically build their TikTok shopping presence. So I'm often looking for great case studies when it comes to TikTok Shop. And actually, there aren't that many brands in the UK using it. The one I often use as a great case study is a beauty brand based in Wales called Mallow's Beauty. And they make thousands and thousands of pounds of revenue in TikTok Shop alone. They've spent a lot of time, really working out how to master their TikTok Shop. And one of the things that they've noticed is that when they go live, they do sell a huge amount of product. So the brand is often live. I mean, I just had a quick look this morning and they had 124 people watching one of their colleagues just pack the boxes up of products, which is, quite a mundane thing to film. But the way that the colleagues speak to the customers, they keep it quite interesting. They throw in, discount codes. You can see why it does so well. So Mallow's Beauty is a really interesting one to go and have a look at. If you want to join this TikTok program, then the main benefits of the program are that you get 90 days of commission-free sales. You also get free fulfillment via TikTok Shop. You get support with TikTok experts. You get training in their Sellers Academy, and you get lots of marketing tips and assistance. So I've actually just this morning reached out to TikTok to get one of my clients on this program if I can. But I definitely think we're going to see more hospitality brands using it to promote things like sauces or merchandise like t-shirts and hats. I think we're going to see more entertainment brands using TikTok Shop, more like household products as well. So I imagine we'll see more things like cleaning products, candles, photo frames, gadgets. Whereas at the moment, the majority is like beauty brands and fashion brands, I guess, because they've already got their online e-commerce stores established. So just plugging into TikTok Shop isn't the hardest of things to do. So if you are interested in joining this program, or at least finding out more about it, just Google the TikTok £1 million Club and you'll find the link to apply for the program. Or if you want to chat more about, whether you think it's right for your brand, feel free to get in touch, and I'll be sharing my email with you guys in just a moment. The other big announcement that TikTok has made, which is very exciting for me, is that they are now going to work very nicely with Eventbrite. So there is now a TikTok and Eventbrite partnership happening. And this basically means that both creators and fans can promote Eventbrite links in stream. So you're able to basically put your Eventbrite ticket link within a TikTok video. So someone can literally tap on that and get a really nice experience going through to the product page or the event page itself. And if you look at the second screen there, you will see that there's this nice kind of pop-up window that tells you all about the event, when it's happening, what the venue is, how much tickets are, and you don't have to leave TikTok. So I think that's a really clever way of TikTok to help integrate events more into their platform. And I can see this working well for entertainment businesses, hospitality businesses, and also B2B businesses. These events are all on Eventbrite. This is how I promote the ticketing for these updates. So this means that I can now put the Eventbrite link straight into a TikTok video so people can get their free tickets without even leaving the TikTok app. So I told you there was going to be a bonus update, and that was something I spotted just last night from Matt Navarra, the prolific social media trend spotter and industry analyst. If you don't follow him on LinkedIn, I would really recommend doing so. But last night he announced that a much requested feature has just appeared on TikTok, and that is the ability to upload a custom cover or thumbnail for your videos. So surprisingly, this hasn't been available for so long on TikTok. You have to choose, a second or a couple of seconds from your video as the thumbnail. You can now upload a custom image, which I think will be really interesting. I think we're going to see much more of a YouTube style custom cover being utilized, where you've maybe got the title of the video, text overlaid, you've got the presenter of the video posing perhaps in the cover images. So I think that's how we're going to see it used, and that will be on app and on desktop as well. So look out for that one. Let's jump over to YouTube now and talk about a quick update that YouTube has made. And again, it's thumbnail related because thumbnails are so important when it comes to driving more video views. So the big update that we have seen over on YouTube is that you're now able to add a custom thumbnail for a playlist. Believe it or not, this hasn't been a feature of YouTube for so long. And YouTube's been going for over 20 years. When you do create a playlist on YouTube, you can put however many videos you'd like to be in that playlist, but whichever video is number one in the playlist, that's the thumbnail that's used. So you can see over on the left-hand side here, these are all my playlists, but the one on the left is my social media marketing 2024 playlist. This is each of these monthly updates I put into this playlist. So you can see there've been 7 so far. The thumbnail there says social media trends for 2024, which was the first video that went into this playlist. But really, I'd like that thumbnail to just be something related to the fact that you can watch all of our free monthly marketing updates here in this playlist. But I can't do that. However, now I can. So straight after this update, I'm going to be busy designing something in Canva, which promotes the fact that if you click on that playlist, you can catch up on all of the marketing updates from 2024 so far. So I'm very excited about this update. I'm sure you can tell, but I think that will just help to tidy up that experience of watching playlists so much for people. And really, thinking about that overall layout of your YouTube channel is incredibly important for ensuring you're getting good amounts of video views on your YouTube channel. So even though I don't have much information about this update, I thought it was a really important one to include. X is considering launching free trials for premium. So X Premium is the paid for subscription, which allows users to have access to lots of different features, like having a verified tick, like having analytics, like having an edit post option. But you, of course, have to pay $9.99-ish a month if you're a personal user, and $99 per month if you're a business. So very expensive as a subscription service goes. But really interesting to see that, some hints have been suggested that they are going to start rolling out free trials. Now, that to me suggests that they are getting a little desperate. There's not enough people using premium for them to continue as a business. So they are now looking to hook people into that free trial. Now, this, as a strategy, does work really well. I don't know how many of you have done a LinkedIn premium free trial and then just continued using it because you've actually either forgotten to unsubscribe, or you actually do find the features and benefits of paid LinkedIn are worth it. This could happen over on X. We are going to see, but this to me just says that, Musk and his team are getting a little desperate now. They've seen a big loss in revenue. They have lost a lot of advertisers over the last couple of years, and not enough people are paying to use X than what they would like. And so to me, it looks like a last ditch attempt, but we shall see. If you're still using X and loving it, let me know. I'm always looking for case studies of businesses that it's still working really, really well for. And I think, the saying goes with any platform, but the more effort you put into a platform, the more you get out of it. And I do find it's the businesses that are spending a lot of time with engagement, taking time to have conversations and respond to their community. They're the ones that are getting the most out of X. So final update for you guys today before I open the floor to Q&A is a little bit of an update about Google cookies. So if you've been following the news about Google cookies for many years now, you'll know that they announced that they were actually going to get rid of cookies in Google Chrome and not offer them as something that is tracked, and not offer them to marketers as something that can be retargeted or used in analytics. So this was a huge announcement that happened a good number of years ago. And they've been sort of re-announcing the fact that they are still doing it, but delaying it for about 3 years now. They've been saying, oh, we'll delay it again until next year. So after many years of uncertainty, Google has actually said that they've decided not to get rid of the third-party cookies in Chrome. So they've actually done a bit of a U-turn here. And if you have the time, this is a really interesting article to read. And I'll, of course, share the link in the Facebook group that we have afterwards. But they've actually decided that they are going to keep the cookie in Chrome. What they're going to do is offer more choice to users who are using Chrome as to how they would like to be tracked. And you can change those settings at any point. So you can be quite specific about which websites you'd like to be tracked and not. And you might be thinking right now, well, you can do that anyway. When you go on a website, you'll get the pop-up box asking you if you accept the cookies. But once you've submitted that decision to the website, it's really hard to then edit that and change that. So I think one of Google's focuses will be making that a bit more customizable as to whether or not you want to be tracked on a certain website. And this is me speculating, but I picture that as almost like a lever you switch on and off in the toolbar when you're on a website. So that's what I think we'll see in the future, because of course they do want to help people to protect their privacy and be a little bit more tailored on Google. However, that being said, it's really hard for marketers to be able to attribute anything without cookies, and also to get things like website analytics. So Google must be very mindful of the fact that they do have, a huge part of their business, a huge part of their profit is down to tracking and whether or not we can attribute sales and attribute leads to certain activities. So it is an ongoing conundrum. And Google are currently looking at other avenues in which they can track and measure people's behaviors on websites without necessarily using cookies. So it will be an interesting area of digital marketing to continue to keep on top of. But if you do hear anyone saying, Google are getting rid of cookies, that's actually something that is not happening anymore. So, in my view, good news. Now, before I open the floor to Q&A, which I always do around this point in the updates, I just wanted to share something really fun, which I like to also include in my updates, which is often maybe, a bit of inspiration or just something funny to share that I've seen. I'm sure many of you have heard of Brat Summer. This is being labeled as Brat Summer, which is referring to an album by the artist Charlie XCX. I can never say her name, which is a bit of an issue. But this song or songs from her album have been trending on Instagram and TikTok for a number of weeks now. And this one in particular, which is called Apple, which is about rotten apples, is one of the big trending tracks on Instagram and TikTok at the moment. And this video has been doing the rounds, which was from one of the councils in London, Waltham Forest. And I think it's just a brilliant take on using a trending track in TikTok, but using it to promote your news. So let's have a quick look at how they did this. So actually a brilliant way to promote their new food recycling bins using this trending track, which actually has been praised across social media, certainly in my communities that I follow on LinkedIn and on WhatsApp. This video has been doing the rounds. So I just thought that was a lovely example of more of a serious organization there, utilizing trending tracks.